Welcome to Charts Today, European Opening. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Wednesday, the 7th of November, comes to you from Vienna, where I've been speaking at an energy trading conference. So we start by looking at the dollar index. We're just ahead of the US Open, and we see the dollar is actually falling on the midterm election results, so just off about 0.5% there. And against the euro, we're seeing the euro up against the dollar, so no big surprise there. The dollar is actually holding on to its bull trend against the yen, so I see that as quite positive still for the dollar. And against sterling, we're seeing sterling actually just pushing higher. Stronger sterling is really a key there. Down slightly against the euro sterling is, but still bullish on all three timeframes now, and against the Swiss franc looking more and more bullish as well. And against the Aussie dollar, not quite as bullish with the short-term 60-minute chart in bearish mode. Bitcoin up just over 0.75%, so starting to look a little bit better there, and we're waiting for the US indices to open. But the S&P 500 index actually closed up yesterday, putting it back above the cloud on the short-term chart, as did the Nasdaq and the Dow as well. So we're seeing just the indices in the US now just recovering on those short-term charts. A bit of a shortage of upside targets there, so quite key that. We're seeing the futures up 0.6% on the S&P future, and the Nasdaq E-mini future we're seeing is up just under 0.2%, 0.63%. So we are expecting the markets to open higher, having digested the sort of midterm election results. The FTSE is up 1.2%, so that's looking pretty strong in Europe. Mid caps in the UK actually struggling by comparison, only up 1/3%. So really still bearish on that medium and long-term chart. Short-term looking a little bit better. The DAX is up 0.84% and looking quite a lot better on the short-term chart, but still medium and long-term bearish. And the CAC Quarante is up 1.2%. Still probably one of the best-looking markets in Europe. And we see here bouncing on long-term support on that weekly cloud chart. It's my long-term chart here. We saw Asia was fairly mixed overnight, but basically China ended up 0.2% lower, and that's still the worry on trade war fears. Looking at commodities, we see Brent crude sitting at just below that $73 mark, so still with downside targets of $70 in train there. We are bearish on the medium and short-term charts. And looking at WTI, also bearish there on the short-term charts as well. US nat gas holding on to its gain, sitting at $3.52, so looking quite strong there. Gold is just sitting on the $12.30 mark, just below at $12.29. Still bullish short term. New target of $12.80 to be activated if we can move back above that $12.37 level. The target to 1302 is activated, so we are still seeing gold just gradually coming through into recovery mode as markets turn over. Gold is turning up. Looking at the silver price, not quite as bullish as gold, still has more work to do. US 10-year yields went through a little bit of a wobble in the small hours as we saw the election results coming in, but on the whole have held steady at 3.2%. So we are just seeing those 10-year yields looking still pretty bullish, and a move to a new high would activate 4.16% and 4.07%. So does really look like that's where we're headed. And the Bund, we're seeing the German bond just also bond prices just going lower. Amazon just getting bullish above the cloud again short term. Apple has now got work to do, as has Alphabet, as have Facebook. So these tech majors still a little bit bearish on these shorter term charts. This intraday data coming from Thomson Reuters Icon, or if you're a private user, Metastock. So we are seeing here quite a mix in the markets. Heading to stocks, we're seeing the UK market, the FTSE 100. In fact, let's have a quick look at the Nasdaq, just opening now, looking pretty much higher on all fronts. We see here NetEase up 3.6%, Activision Blizzard up 2.4%. A lot of these charts still pretty bearish, though. We see Microsoft up 2%, so that's looking better, and we see Amazon here in the leaders up 1.5%. and just ordering them alphabetically allows me to find them quicker. Apple up just under 1%, so looking better, but still has work to do to reverse the recent sell-off that we've seen there. Facebook up 1% as well at 151, and taking a look at some of the others, Tesla up 0.5%. Microsoft, we just talked, up just 2%. These prices all coming in off Yahoo Finance as the market just opens. Netflix up 0.3% and Nvidia up 0.3%. So we are seeing pretty strong across the board. And another way to just take a quick check on that is there's only a handful of stocks down on the Nasdaq. It's pretty well all up today, so that's looking better. The FTSE 100, we're seeing Fresno up 4%, Associated British Foods up a further 4% after yesterday's results. Taking a look on the downside, we're seeing ITV down nearly 4%, Royal Mail down 2%, and Marks and Spencer's, who reported today, also lower. Looking in the 250, we've got Mediclinic up 4%, Hochschild Mining up 3.6%. This is the UK 250 stocks, again, all just coming off Yahoo. Big falls from Sophos Group and G4S, who put out a profits warning today. We're seeing that lower, and Wetherspoon's down 11% as well. So we are seeing still some pretty big falls in the market. Looking at the Euro Stock 600, Danske Bank, actually strong performer, up 7%. Vestas, another Danish company, up 8.5%. So we are seeing some quite big moves there. And they're looking at the negative stocks. Pandora, Danish company, down a further 5%. They've been falling quite heavily of late, so we are seeing that as well. Taking a look across to the US at the open, we've already talked about the Nasdaq. Taking a quick look at the Dow 30, and we can rank that by change. We see Caterpillar's the strongest, up 2.6%, United Health up 2.3%, DuPont up 2.2%, but again, a lot of these charts in bearish mode and underperforming the Dow. And if we look to Boeing, down 0.4%, only a couple of fallers on the market, but Boeing actually looking like one of the better charts there. On the S&P 500 index, the broader based index of 500 stocks, again from Yahoo, we're looking at DaVita up 8.5%, Climax Energy up 8%, and we are still see some pretty big falls. Michael Kors moving to Europe today, announcing that's hurt them, and we're seeing them really selling off their Coty, also falling heavily and still in a very big downtrend. Ralph Lauren, we're seeing lower. So a lot of these fashion stocks being hit as well. That's it for today. Until tomorrow, happy charting. See you then.